Good morning, students. Today I am going to explain you about the last part of this vermiculture chapter, that is about methods of vermicomposting. So in this class we will be discussing about the details of vermicomposting. First, let us go through the definition. Vermicomposting is a special biotechnological process of composting in which certain species of earthworms are used to enhance the process of waste conversion and produce a better product. Vermicomposting is a method of preparing enriched compost with the use of earthworms. It is one of the earliest methods to recycle agricultural waste and to produce quality compost. Vermicompost is stable, fine granular organic manure which enriches soil quality by improving its physico-chemical and biological properties. It is highly useful in raising seedlings and for crop production. So in this picture you can see this is the organic manure that is being produced, what is called as vermicompost. Here you can make out these earthworms, which are generally known as red earthworms. So these earthworms consumes biomass and excrete it in digested form called worm cast or black gold. The casts are rich in nutrients, growth promoting substances, beneficial soil microflora. Vermicomposting materials. We need some materials to begin this vermicomposting. They are as follows. First one, decomposable organic waste such as animal excreta, kitchen waste, farm residues, and forest litter are commonly used as composting materials. In general, animal dung, mostly cow dung, and dried chopped crop residues are the key raw materials. Mixture of leguminous and non-leguminous crop residues enriches the quality of vermicompost. Methods of vermicomposting. So there are the following methods. The first one is called bed method. Here composting is done on the puka or kacha floor by making a bed having a size of about 6 by 2 by 2 feet of organic mixture, and this method is easy to maintain and to practice. Second one, pit method. As the name itself suggests, here composting is done in the cemented pits of size 5 by 5 into 3 feet. The unit is covered with thatch grass or any other locally available materials, and this method is not preferred due to poor aeration, water logging at bottom, and more cost of production. So this is about the beds that is being used in vermicomposting. What we call here it as bed vermicomposting. As you see here in the picture, these are the beds that are seen here, and a person is doing activities in this vermicomposting process. This is called pit vermicomposting. So here you can see a spade-like equipment that is being used to dig or to prepare the pit. So these are the tanks, or what we call it as pits, that are being used in pit vermicomposting. However, as you see here, students, these are made of cement material. Now, phases of vermicomposting. So there are different phases are there, and this processing involves collection of waste, shredding, mechanical separation of the metal, glass and ceramics, and storage of organic waste. So that is the first phase. And in the second phase, pre-digestion of organic waste for 20 days by heaping the material along with cattle dung slurry. So we have to leave the collected organic waste for about 20 days in a heap-like manner, and that is supposed to be mixed with the cow dung, or what we call it otherwise as cattle dung. And this process partially digests the material, that is organic waste, and fit for earthworm consumption. Cattle dung and biogas slurry may be used after drying, and wet dung should not be used for vermicompost production, because wet dung, as you know, it will increase the temperature of the bed, which is not suitable for earthworms. And the next phase, preparation of earthworm bed. A concrete base is required to put the waste for vermicompost preparation. Loose soil will allow the worms to go into soil, and also while watering, all the dissolvable nutrients go into the soil along with water. Next phase, collection of earthworms from earthworm after vermicompost collection. Sieving the composted material to separate fully composted material. So suitable sized mesh is being used for this purpose, and the partially composted material will be again put into vermicompost bed. An expert can easily distinguish whether it is partially composted or fully composted material. Then the next phase, storing the vermicompost in proper place to maintain moisture, and that should not be directly exposed to the sunlight, and it should be allow the beneficial microorganisms to grow. So shading is a preferable preferable type of place for storing this produced vermicompost. Here is a kind of modern method of vermicomposting. As you see here, there is a base, there is a base here, and above which there will be a holding tray, collection tray, processing tray, two, and then above which processing tray 1, and above which working tray, and above which a lid. So as you observe in this picture, on the top of this there is a lid that is to protect the earthworms from direct sunlight and over flooding of earthworms if there is heavy raining. And below which there is a tray called working tray, where the worms are being placed initially, and in the next part of that there is a processing tray where earthworms that are put on working trays will be shifted to processing tray. And from processing tray 1, the worms are then placed onto or shifted onto processing tray 2. However, as you see in the picture, below this processing tray 2, there will be a collection tray where the organic waste which are composted, that is going to be collected, and that is being holded, or it is being preserved in a next compartment, what is called as holding tray. And the steps followed for vermicompost preparation. Vermicomposting unit should be in a cool, moist and shady site. Cow dung and chopped dried leafy materials are mixed in the proportion of 3:1. That is 3 part of cow dung and 1 part of chopped dried leafy materials. And this mixture is supposed to be kept for partial decomposition for a period of about 15 to 20 days, and a layer of 15 to 20 centimeter of chopped dried leaves or grasses should be kept as bedding material at the bottom of the bed. Beds of partially decomposed material of size 6 by 2 by 2 feet should be made, and each bed should contain 1.5 to 2 grams of raw material and the number of beds can be increased as per raw material availability and requirement. And for this vermicomposting, generally red earthworms are preferred. About 1,500 to 2,000 red earthworms should be released on the upper layer of the bed. Water should be sprinkled, which can immediately after the release of worms. Beds should be kept moist by sprinkling of water daily. However, care should be taken that there should not be any water logging. And this bed should be covered with gunny bags or polythene covers. As far as possible, use gunny bags because it can retain the moisture and will not allow maximum heat in the bed. However, if you cover it with polythene sheet, as you know that it will trap the heat inside the bed, which is not good for the healthy growth of the earthworms. And bed should be turned once after 30 days for maintaining aeration and for proper decomposition. Compost gets ready in 45 to 50 days and the finished product is 3/4 of the raw materials used. Say for example, if we use 100 kgs of raw material, we will be able to produce about 75 kilograms of the finished product, that is vermicompost. So this is another way of doing vermicomposting, where you can see several containers, pot like containers, and at the bottom there will be a brick support, and at the top, on the top of which there will be a worm tea collection center, or what is called as storage bin, and above which there will be the active area of earthworms container, and here on the top of this there will be a cover. As I said earlier, it can be a gunny bag, wetted gunny bag. And on the topmost container, as you see here, there are some holes for proper aeration, and that is also seen in the next chamber also. And this will contain a bedding material of suitable thickness, and as you see there are earthworms here below this bedding material, and below which there will be the worm casting that are being collected here. You can clearly make out that in the first container earthworms are being kept, and just below which there will be the collection of the earthworm castings, which is called compost. And here this is being collected here in this container, second or the middle container, and below which there is a bin called storage bin, where the if the water is put in a large quantity, that water will get collected in the bottommost bin, or what is called a storage bin, which will be in the form of a tea color, the color of a tea, hence it is known as worm tea, and that is going to be collected in this bottom container. And this tea can be, or what is called the liquid part, it can be collected at the base. There is a pipe that is being fitted over here, and through that pipe there is a tap, you know that tap is provided for which, and through which we can collect that tea, that is worm tea. Now coming to harvesting, when raw material is completely decomposed, it appears black and granular, so that is an indication that the raw material is completely decomposed or degraded in the form of a vermicompost. Watering should be stopped as compost gets ready, otherwise there will be the still more activity of the earthworms, and we cannot get a dried nature of the vermicompost, for which watering should be stopped once you get the black color and granular nature of the vermicompost. The compost should be kept over a heap of partially decomposed cow dung so that the earthworms could migrate to cow dung from compost. After 2 days, compost can be separated and sieved for use. Preventive measures. The floor of the unit should be compact to prevent earthworms migration into the soil. 15 to 20 days old cow dung should be used to avoid excess heat, because if we use fresh dung, that will produce more amount of heat in the bed. The organic waste should be free from plastics, chemicals, pesticides and metals, etc. Aeration should be maintained for proper growth and multiplication of the earthworms. Optimum moisture level that is required is about 30 to 40%, and that should be maintained, and 18 to 25 degrees Celsius temperature should be maintained for proper decomposition. The nutrient content of vermicompost. The level of nutrients in compost depends on the source of the raw material and the species of earthworm used. A fine worm cast is rich in NPK besides other nutrients. Nutrients in vermicompost in readily available form and are released within a month of application. So here is a chart which shows you the nutrient content of this vermicompost, and as you see here, the nutrient, that is organic carbon, it is about 9.15 to 17.98 percentage, and total nitrogen of about 1.5 to 2, and total phosphorus of about 1.0 to 1.50, and total potassium of about 0.60%, and calcium and magnesium rich, that is about 22.00 to 70 milliunits per 100 gram, and available salt form, it is about 128 to 548 ppm, and it contains a good amount of copper, as you see here, that is about 100 ppm, and iron of about 1800 pm, and zinc of about 50 ppm. This is the nutrient comparison between vermicompost and garden compost, so that you can appreciate the risk that is there behind the preparation of vermicompost. It has organic carbon of about 9.8 to 13.4 percentage, nitrogen of 0.51 to 1.61, whereas the garden compost will have about 0.8% only. Likewise, you can see the difference between the various nutrient elements between vermicompost and garden compost. Now, advantages of vermicompost. As you know that vermicompost is rich in all essential plant nutrients. It provides excellent effect on overall plant growth, encourages the growth of new shoots, leaves, and improves the quality and shelf life of the products. Vermicompost is free flowing, easy to apply and handle, and it can be stored, and it does not have bad odor. So generally cow dung will have bad odor. That's why if it is not decomposed properly, it will definitely give bad odor. But in vermicomposting process, that will be completely degraded by the earthworms. Hence, there is no bad odor for the vermicompost. And it improves soil structure, texture, aeration, and water holding capacity, and prevents soil erosion. Vermicompost is rich in beneficial microflora such as a fixture and the solubilizers, cellulose decomposing microflora, etc., in addition to improve soil environment. Vermicompost contains earthworm cocoons and increases the population also and activity of earthworm in the soil. It neutralizes the soil protection and it prevents nutrient losses and increase the use efficiency of chemical fertilizers. Vermicompost is free from pathogens, toxic elements, weed seeds, etc. And vermicompost minimizes the incidence of pests and diseases, and it enhances the decomposition of organic matter in soil, and it contains valuable vitamins, enzymes and hormones like auxins and gibberellins. So these are some other advantages of vermicomposting. It reduces garbage disposal costs, produces less odor and attracts only few pests, and saves electricity and water used for in-sink garbage disposals, produces high quality soil amendment, requires little space, labor or maintenance, and produces free worms for fishing too. So some precautions to be followed during vermicomposting. Do not cover vermicompost beds or heaps with plastic sheets because it may trap heat and gas or the gases, and do not overload the vermicompost heap to avoid high temperature that adversely affect their population. Dry conditions kill the worms and waterlogging drive them away. So proper watering should be done daily in summer and every third day in rainy and winter seasons. Addition of higher quantities of acid-rich substances such as tomatoes and citrus waste should be avoided. Make a drainage channel around the heap to avoid stagnation of water, particularly in high rainfall areas in rainy season. Organic materials used for composting should be free from non-degradable materials such as stones, glass pieces, plastics, ceramic tubes, bulbs, etc. Some other diverse ways of vermicomposting. As you see in the picture, on the right hand side, that is on the top, you will see a bin like component here, and that is a new method of vermicomposting, and that can be done even in homes itself or the houses itself where there is no availability of soil or the garden to maintain this vermiculture. However, it can be practiced in some containers or the bins as it is shown in the diagram, and even in pots it can be done also. So this is another picture of a technical way of producing vermicompost. As you see here, a motor is fitted here, and from that a pipe is being coming out, and that pipe will supply the water to these beds automatically, because there will be a kind of sprinkler kind of arrangement is being made in this new technological improvement of vermicompost preparation. So this is all about today's class, dear students.